This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Let's start with the spring game. I didn't watch. I listened a little bit. I had my head in baseball for the weekend. So what stood out to you from Saturday's spring game?
Well, it clearly was scripted for success. Anytime you have the twos or the ones going strictly against the twos both ways, offense and defense, you're going to be successful. And last year they didn't do that. Last year we saw a lot of ones versus ones, and the offense didn't look very good. And then in the fall we saw what happened. I understand why he did it that way. You've got a new quarterback. You want him to be successful. You want the fans to see that. And it worked. Taylor Green was impressive. Now, yeah, he didn't have the pass rush that he would have gotten if he had gone up against the ones, but he threw some nice passes with hands in his face. He hit some pinpoint passes that were contested. I was impressed with the receivers. They didn't get wide open at times, but they caught the ball. So, and then I was impressed with the running game, guys. DeQuindon Jackson from I guess
Utah,
right? I keep forgetting where he came from.
He's a Texas kid, but he Utah for a couple years.
He was running through some big holes at times, but there were some times when he made his own holes. And so I think that was impressive. I mean, what people don't want to – they keep talking about this offensive line, and I've really watched them. And, Sam Pittman joked he's the oldest grad assistant in the country. He's also the best. Eric Mateos has got the best helper out there, and the two of them have teamed up to coach this offensive line. And I'll just tell you, I can always be wrong, but I believe after watching them work with these guys, and then you've got a new starting center, 2 new tackles, and the word is they're going after another portal transfer in this now that this spring is over. We'll be here this summer. I mean, you got a reworked offensive line with a new attitude and good coaches. I think it's going to work, guys.
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you, we lost, I thought, a kid that will get drafted in our field goal kicker, and special teams is going to win or lose at least one, maybe 2 games for you. I think to the Florida game, we won that game based on Florida's not being able to run their special teams the correct way. Is our special teams going to be a strength? How's our field goal kicker going to be? No,
right now that's you can't have nice things, isn't what they always say about
right.
Razorback fans. Some things get better, something else gets worse. I think it's Sam Pittman will have fewer decisions to make now on fourth down. He's probably going to have to go for it instead of trying to kick field goals based on what we saw. It didn't look very good.
Well, hey, that's at least you have a game plan for it. If you got to get inside the 30 instead of inside the 50, at least so you can call you're in 4-down territory, then you plan accordingly.
Sure. I mean, it makes the decision-making a little easier.
Mike, you're telling me the thing that I needed to hear. It's like last year we started thinking about, well, what's the season going to look like in spring when Clay tells us that the tackles really looked like they were struggling. That was the clue, that you might be in for a tough year. What you're telling us right now is you got the right people to tackle, and it sounds like you got the right guy in Addison Nichols at center. So, there's offensive coordinator, quarterback change, big changes at running back and everything, but it has to start with those 3 positions. And it sounds like, and we don't know because we won't really even know until we play Oklahoma State. And then you start to get a sense. But it sounds like when I heard the things a year ago and I'm hearing negative things about the tackles, I'm hearing the opposite right now. That's telling me should be in for a better year.
Well, in those 2 scrimmages where we did see some ones versus ones, there was a big difference in the production of it. Taylor Green still threw a couple of touchdown passes in each scrimmage, but he threw a couple of picks too because he had hands in his face. And there's another thing about the spring guys that we haven't even talked about, and that's this blow the whistle because you can't tackle the quarterback. Taylor Green would have probably scored 3 times on long touchdown runs without those whistles because he got whistled with some guy reaching out and touching him, and there's no way that's a tackle in a real game. that's another thing this quarterback does. It's the running aspect. I mean, he can fly. So it all looks good. I don't want to overplay the offensive line. They still, at times in those 1-versus-1 scrimmages, there were still some times when they got to the quarterback. But it's better. I promise you it's better.
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you about our defense a little bit. I know we have to replace the linebackers. Do you think, or how did anybody stand out on the defensive side of the ball to you?
Yeah, the pass rush was just really good. And they stopped and I want to point this out, and I've already said this, the number 2 offensive line looked like a bad mid-major offensive line. They weren't very good. So pity the poor running backs that had to go up against those guys. Auguste Stav is already transferred. I mean, they stuck him behind those guys, and he got about 5 yards on about 8 carries, and now he's gone. That's another bad thing about the transfer portal. That kid was promising. I mean, he was just getting started, but he doesn't, feel good about where he's at after the spring, so he's gone. That's the world we live in now.
Any feeling like they might need to replace him at running back as far as getting one out of the portal, or are you in you're in a really good spot as far as depth is concerned, and he was one of the reasons why. So you kind of got to pick somebody now, right?
Well, we'll see. Pittman, I don't know if he was asked about that after I didn't go to that press conference, but I don't think they knew at the press conference. So he'll get asked at some point. We'll see what they do, but they still look pretty good. Now, if you start getting injuries, then that's another question. But I'd say right now they're okay at running back.
All right, so ask about basketball. I haven't had a commit come in yet. There's no reason to fret about that, really. Cal himself said this is going to take longer just because of the nature of the portal, and it had kind of just opened in the case of Kentucky, and some of those kids that he had recruited to Kentucky now have reopened their recruitment. And I think to them that doesn't mean I'm just following Cal to Arkansas. Yeah, they're looking around at potentially where they can go. But, everybody's expecting you're going to get a player or two off the Kentucky current roster. I know Big Z went into the transfer portal. Aaron Bradshaw went into the transfer portal. You'd love to get maybe one of those 2 big guys. And I think in our minds, we're all just sort of expecting that a chunk of the Kentucky recruiting class decides to come to Arkansas too. The only question is, when do we start finding out a little bit about this?
With Musselman, let's just be honest, guys, he was talking to a lot of these recruiting. You're not supposed to do that, but we all know it happens. And so even a hint of somebody coming in here, the people that cover recruiting with Arkansas basketball would know about it because Musselman would tell them. At least right now, I don't think they have that kind of relationship yet with Calipari. I don't know if they will. I think they're having to go through other sources to try and figure out what's going on with recruiting, and I think that's why we don't even have rumors right now. And people are getting a little antsy. I mean, Cal comes in here, has the press conference, everything's great, then he goes off to California and sort of hadn't heard from him since then. So I think people just are sitting there with their fingers crossed going, hey, we need some information now. Let's get some good news here. And as of this morning, we don't have any yet.
Okay, baseball. So you lose 2 out of 3 to Alabama. Some people get nervous. You lose ball games. I think it's more of an idea that it just struggled to score runs this weekend. 3 runs in the last 25 innings. That would make you nervous. You just hope it doesn't keep happening. That's what this is about.
Well, you got this debate now, and here's what I do. I don't look at Facebook groups because there's a gang mentality. When you get like our Razorback Nation Facebook, you don't want to go there, guys. That's like walking into a bad neighborhood at midnight. You don't want to be there. But what I do is I go to people that are friends on Facebook with each other, and I know them to be Razorback fans, and I read the debates they're having. And there's a debate. It's back to that old Nate Thompson. I'm telling you guys, this stuff doesn't work. We need to go back to small ball. And then other people are you kidding me? Dave Van Horn knows what he's doing. So then I go look at the numbers. And it's not very encouraging right now. I mean, I think they're down around 10th, 11th in team batting, or 9th, 8th, I think, in team batting. But then it drops in hitting to 11th or 12th. Runs scored 11th or 12th. they just don't generate. They've had timely hitting and scored runs in the right places, which is why they were able to sustain that winning streak. But there's an issue there, and Dave Van Horn acknowledged it earlier in the year. I think we all thought it was getting better, and now it kind of goes backwards. But then baseball, what is it? It's week to week, guys. It can change at any given time. So I don't think there's any reason to panic. But, I'd like to know what's going on behind the scenes. I'd like to be in some of those meetings and find out how are they going to address this issue. And then other people think, well, come on, you really need to play 2 midweek games before you go on the road. Now you got 2 more midweek games. Are we at a point in the season where you maybe just play 1 midweek game or no midweek games? There's all this debate going on, and I don't know what it means.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.